Good morning. It's the 8th of September 2023. I think you can see there Ukraine war, and this is just an update on the Ukraine war. The Ukraine war is effectively over. The Americans were pumping in money, a good deal of which was stolen by the corrupt Zelensky government and the people who he gives authority to do it. A good lot of the weapons were stolen as well. But there was still enough left for them to fight the war. 40% of the Ukrainian population has fled. 40% of the Ukrainian population has fled. And I have said at this stage, any person that could be conscripted was better off out of there. You're only giving your life for a corrupt government and a corrupt NATO. And Mitt Romney recently said, there's a video of him there on YouTube, that it's the best investment the US ever had, that it's losing no soldiers. It's losing no soldiers. To him, the lives of the Ukrainian soldiers and those who were in there helping them mean nothing. Mean absolutely nothing. That's what you're dealing with. Now, as of recently, from about July, the offensives, which they call them, that's an attack by the Ukraine forces, counterattack, have failed. And one thing the United States does, and even with a Biden government and this Blinken fella, Anthony Blinken, one of the things they do know is how to run a war. In fairness to them, they're fairly good at running a war. And they told Ukraine to fight, move to the south, not to try to retake Bakhmut. Now, Bakhmut it's a prestigious target for the Ukraine to win back. But they didn't like to be told to ignore it. But the Russians, Blinken, the Americans told them, go for the south. So it'd be a bit like if we were Ireland and we had County Down, we'll say, was occupied by Russia, and there's a town there called Bakhmut, or even we'd say Dundalk. We'd say County Louth might be a better example. County Louth was after being taken over, and the aim of the Irish government is to take back Dundalk because it's of a strategic and a prestigious importance. But the Americans are saying, you go to Wicklow and Wexford, fight Wicklow, Wexford. That's the place we want you to fight. We're giving you the equipment. We want you to use armoured divisions. They want to use heavy equipment. They don't agree with infantry, which I think is right. But the Ukraine does believe in infantry and try to win back Bakhmut with infantry. That's soldiers with rifles, not a hope. And they went on, then they did go south. So they split their forces. And the idea the Americans had was that they'd split the Russian forces a bit by going just for the one area. It's technical. But the point is, the Ukrainians refused to comply, and Zelensky has been forced to sack one of his generals who pushing this and would not hear tell of abandoning Bakhmut. And they couldn't win in both. It'd be very good to hold on in both. So Blinken went over this week, early in the week, and he did 2 days, very unusual, and he brought the Danish Prime Minister with him in tow. So there's something serious going on there. It said he went down to McDonald's for a burger. Now, there's no statement issued, but we know very well what Zelensky has been told. Excuse me. He's been told there's an election in America coming up, November, 12 months. We are under pressure. The American people have no interest in this war. A big certain amount of the candidates for president are against the war. We have problems, other demands on money, such as Hawaii. There was a big fire there. It said that Biden only gave them $700, and there's billions going into Ukraine. It's not politically sustainable anymore. You got to do what we tell you. We'll give it one more try, and as soon as the cold weather comes in, we're going to start negotiations with Putin. And the only negotiations Putin's going to demand, and he's in the upper seat, he's going to keep the 2 areas that he has taken over in the northeast of Ukraine, and he's going to keep Crimea. And Zelensky will be left maybe with the rest, a bit of a rump state there. And he has no option but to take it. His graveyards are full. it's outrageous that they didn't have a character like Michael Collins or some good person to fight, a genuine person that we could unite against, but we don't. We have corruption. And then you have all these big finance houses in America all lined up to grab all the assets there. And they were hoping to grab everything in Russia as well. The United States managed to persuade Europe to stop trading with Russia, and it has an enormous impact on the economies of Europe, particularly Germany. As this is happening, 4 countries in France, Gabon, Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali have had coups, and they're all dumping the French out, getting rid of the French and running them. The French had complete control. They put up the price of uranium. The French were getting uranium for almost nothing, and they put it way up, several 100%. And now the French will have to pay for it, and they'll be less entitled and likely to blow about their cheap nuclear energy, and Air Grid will be less inclined to blow about putting up pylons to bring this cheap energy right up into Ireland and right up into Northern Ireland. A lot of that is dissipating. They're going to have to pay the full price. But getting back to the Ukraine, that's the situation. There's going to be no win for Ukraine. There's going to be no medal or monument or anything to Zelensky. He was a failure. He ran this wrong. But we have to say, in his defense, he was in the position of refusing to do what America said, which was fight on, and then he wouldn't get the help, or taking it over himself. He couldn't win on his own either. And the Americans twice, and the British government twice with Boris Johnson, and the EU once, did everything they could to stop this being settled. Now they realise, oh my God, there's an election coming. Oh, we're broke. And they're begging China for bonds to buy their money. They're not able to run their economy. They're going bankrupt. And Britain's gone bankrupt. Birmingham went bankrupt the other day. So with all of this coming on, and these people, this is what I've always said campaigning, they will certainly agree with you, but they'll have to be down in the hole. It's not until it happens. You can't warn them that anything will happen like that. Putin, on the other hand, is going to say, get your troops out of Eastern Europe. He's not happy with the way they have him surrounded in Eastern Europe, and he'll only do a deal based on the settlement of that. I don't know how that will be dealt with, but he's not going to accept the threat of NATO all around him. They may be allowed to stay there. He said he doesn't mind that, but he has no interest in taking over Germany or Poland like in previous times or wars or anything else. He's no interest in that. He's happy enough to keep his Russia the way he has it, with his piece of the Ukraine. If he goes elsewhere, he might move into Africa. They're already doing that to some degree. There's richer pickings and lower hanging fruit to be had elsewhere. The European Union is cheating. They can't buy the Russian gas through the Nord Stream pipelines. They're taking it in boats as LPG. They're bringing in huge amounts of Russian liquid petroleum gas into Germany. And they're the ones that's warning other countries not to buy Russian fuel. And without it, they were in big trouble, because the American gas is very, very expensive. And that's the reality of the situation. What a mess. On the other hand, the good side of this perhaps is that they'll be called to their senses, and maybe the voters will turn and stop electing these idiots like Sleepy Joe Biden, and all of this mayhem that can't pay their way. Imagine Birmingham gone bankrupt, and Britain's not far behind. They're not able to count. They have no financial responsibility, and that's the way it is. So from the beginnings, folks, I told you this war would go on 2 years, go on a long time. I was right in that. It's now not 2 years yet, but it'll be 2 years on the 24th of February. By the 24th of February, there's no doubt this will all be kind of mopped up. It'll all be done. And the result is that, as I say, that's going to be it. They may leave a rump state. And under no account will Putin settle for any part of Ukraine being in NATO. Under no account. That will immediately trigger another invasion. I don't know about the EU. I intend to think, and I would advise them, leave the rest of Ukraine independent. Let them do what they want to do up to a point. But I think it's very reasonable to say no country in the position of Ukraine can expect to set up a state right beside a big country like Russia and threaten it any more than Ireland couldn't really threaten to use its territory to attack America or indeed to attack Britain. It's really not on. And by the same token, Britain couldn't agree to use Northern Ireland to attack the Republic. These are certain protocols that doesn't happen and shouldn't happen. So I think for me at this stage, I do apologise to the Romanian or the Ukrainian people. Some lovely people there. Terrible death toll, terrible grieving among the parents. I think it's terrible. I believe I was right to back Donald Trump the last time, but nobody agreed with me on that. They said I was a savage. But now, whether you like it or not, whether my viewers wish it or not, that's the situation. You're looking at a Ukraine rump state without the two eastern provinces, or most of them, and no way is the Crimea going back to Ukraine. Zelensky can take it or leave it. And if he gets thick, they'll pull the money. They'll pull the money. And it's bad enough pulling the money on a decent state, but when you have a corrupt state that is siphoning off this money, it's even worse. So he has them. That's what the 2-day meeting was about. It's not announced publicly. I know very well this is not going to be allowed to run into an American election year. It's a disaster for them. So that's it, folks. Tough news. Tough news. All I can say, if you give me a thumbs up, it's for being accurate. It's not, you mightn't agree with me, but it's for being accurate. If you give me a thumbs down, you don't agree with what I'm saying, you think Ukraine is going to take back its territory. Not a hope. Not a hope. And the troops stationed in Poland and all there, they may as well go home, because there's not going to be any attack, and they'll be part of any agreement that's made with Russia. And the EU is slowly but surely realizing, after France has lost four African countries, they're realizing what the Americans is telling them is not in their interest. Let America do its thing and let Europe do its thing. Let that happen. And Ireland has invested more in the United States economy through bonds and treasury bills than its total national debt. That's the reality of how ridiculous this whole thing is. So as I say, thumbs up or thumbs down. I just want to bring you up to date on that. That's the reality. It's all over bar the shouting. Bye bye.